The Tao of Self-Confidence, Episode 711. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. Visit our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits. Well, hello, friend. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. I'm your host today, Sheena Yap Chan, and today I have a phenomenal lady on the show today. She's a wellness blogger and an event producer, and I'm really excited to have her on and share her story with us today on self-confidence. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Rhee. Rachel, how are you today? Maybe you can fill in a little bit more about yourself to the listeners.
Hi, Sheena. Thank you so much for having me. Sure, I am Rachel. I am a wellness blogger, and I also help host wellness events around Los Angeles primarily. I started getting into health and wellness personally, I would say probably about 4 years ago at this point. It's not something that I really, to be quite honest, thought too much of outside of, got to get my sweat in, or I got to go to a cycling class. Wellness to me kind of just pretty much looked like going to the gym here and there. And even that, I was sort of viewing it in the mindset of I have to lose weight or I have to look a certain way. And over the course of time and just, as certain life experiences have happened to me, and, as I guess just kind of gained more insight into my own journey, I've realized that wellness is so much more all-encompassing than going to the gym, your outside aesthetic appearance. Wellness truly for me is something that happens from within.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And Rachel, what's your cultural background?
I am Korean American. So my parents immigrated here around college age for them, and I was born here, and I have a brother as well who was born here as well.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that. And what'd be your favorite self-confidence quote?
I think honestly, kind of just going back to my point earlier, confidence comes from within. And I think that a lot of times people think that confidence is something more external. And while, there's certain things that can help, like, putting on clothes that make you feel good and make you feel confident, that's definitely one way. But I think there's a lot of internal work that goes into building self-confidence.
Thanks for sharing that. And I totally agree. Self-confidence is mostly an inside job. We really have to kind of dig deep and figure out, what's stopping us from taking action on what we want or how we can build confidence and keep going, especially just because confidence is such a lifelong journey. We have to learn to keep building it. So when things aren't going the way we want or we have a bad day, we have that confidence to keep moving forward. So thanks for sharing that great quote. And in your own words, how do you define self-confidence?
For me, self-confidence is truly about finding the light that you have within. I think that is kind of just the theme that both you and I are touching on, is that it's not something that is a quick fix. It's something that takes work. It's a lifelong journey and path that we're on. And some days we feel confident, and some days we don't. But honestly, to really build self-confidence, it's all something that you have to work on internally, whenever you can at any point in your journey.
Thanks for sharing that great definition. And Rachel, what was your life like before your discovery of self-confidence?
I would say that I did not work on myself. It's so funny because when people meet me now, they think I'm so centered and I'm so self-aware and I'm confident and I'm all of these things, but that was very much not the case. I would say probably even 5 years ago, I was very much stuck in a cycle of just not being good to myself and really putting so much emphasis and priority over everyone else's needs but my own. And I wasn't paying attention to, how I was talking to myself every day. I was super self-critical, really judgmental on myself. And at a certain point, you kind of have to realize that you need to start letting go of all of those things that weigh you down inside that you're putting on yourself in order to really heal and to be able to move forward.
Thanks for sharing that. And, that's something I think we all can relate to, especially not being good to ourselves. They always say we are our own worst enemy. And that's so true, right? We're so judgmental and so critical. not realizing like we have to be our own best friend. And, the things you say to yourself is truly important because people don't realize our brain is like a hard drive, right? We have to feed it good things because if not, then, there's a virus that will pop in your brain and it spreads like if your computer gets a virus, right? It goes AWOL. And self-talk is so, so important. I think people don't realize like what they say to themselves really hurts them and, attracts the wrong things into their life. What was that point in your life when you realized, you are more than what you thought you were, have that confidence to go out there and be who you are today? What was that aha moment?
Yeah, I mean, for me, so 4 years ago, I really fell into a deep depression because there was an incident where, to be totally perfectly blunt about it, I was sexually assaulted. And I fell into a depression after that because I kind of just thought, like, and I felt like someone took all of my power away from me. That's how I felt. I felt like something was being taken away from me. And it was just such an emotionally tumultuous time to go through that. And so, I was depressed. I was staying in bed all day. I wasn't, showering. The drapes were always pulled down. And I just fell into a depression until one day I realized, like, you know what, Rachel, you need to get out of this and you need to step outside of yourself and figure out a way to move past this. So what are things that you've done that have made you happy? And I was kind of just doing an inventory of my life in terms of like, when have I really felt happy? And for me, I looked back like, oh, I have always really enjoyed sweating. Like I always end up feeling kind of good about myself after I go to a workout. And that's when I realized that was like kind of that aha moment for me. Like, oh, maybe if I start moving my body, like I'll just start mentally and emotionally feeling better about myself. And then that's when the shift happened for me in terms of how I viewed fitness. It wasn't about the aesthetic anymore. It wasn't about losing weight or losing those last 5 pounds that everyone always talks about. It was about just wanting to feel really good from the inside.
Thanks for sharing that story. And, it's unfortunate that happened to you. And, I'm glad you're able to share your story because there's still so many women out there who have been through this, similar situations as you and are afraid to talk about it because they feel like they're shameful for what happened to them, even though it was not their fault. And, I think when more women can go out there and share their story and can realize like you can overcome this and get out of that funk or what you were going through, like anything is possible. And we just need to hear it from women who've gone through it and can come out of it, right? And because of your realizations, what's your life been like now?
It's been just so much better. I mean, obviously it's a journey, and of course there's, relapses in the way that I think about myself or the way that I view myself, because as human beings, we're not linear, right? Like we're not always on this upward trajectory to like greatness. There's always these moments where we fall back a little bit, and that's okay. But ultimately, when I look at the trending of, how I view myself and the thoughts that I tell myself and the fact that I do tell myself positive affirmations and I remind myself of what my worth is, that's just made such a difference for me. And I think that's what the difference is between the version of me now and the person that I was like 4 or 5 years ago. I've just done so much self-work, and I think that's really important to whoever is listening to this, is that this is now 5 years into my journey and I feel confident now, but it's not something that just happened overnight. So just be easy on yourself and be gentle with yourself is what I would tell other people, because if you're not happy with where you are now, that doesn't always have to be your reality. You can get out of it and you will get out of it. It just takes time and effort.
Thanks for sharing that. And, I like how you mentioned, even though you are confident today, you do still feel relapses because it's normal, right? Like we're human and, that's going to happen. But the difference is you can pick yourself back up and keep moving forward, keep working on yourself, still have positivity into your life and encourage others to also live a better life and realize their own worth in the process. And, I think it's great that you're out there spreading that message and sharing your story out there. And if our listeners wanted to get to know a little bit more about you and what you do or check out some of your work, is there any links or social media profiles we can connect with?
Yeah. So on Instagram, which is where I am mainly right now, is just Dimple It, Dimple Dimple, because believe it or not, I have dimples. So that's kind of where it's sort of originated from. And then my blog is thedimplelife.com.
Thanks for sharing that. And to our listeners, if you want to connect with Rachel, you can also head on over to thetaoselfconfidence.com and search for Rachel's name. Her show notes will pop up along with everything else that we talked about. And I really just want to thank Rachel today for taking the time to share her story and tips with us on self-confidence. So thank you so much, Rachel.
Thank you so much for having me.
Not a problem. It was really great having you on the show. And to our listeners, be on the lookout for another new episode of another amazing woman's journey to self-confidence, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now. Thank you for tuning in to another amazing episode of the Tao of Self-Confidence. Get your free self-talk tape for building self-confidence by visiting our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits.